I'm Frank.
And I'm Justin.
We're the Dude Bros.
Run the streets, motherfucker.
Today we're going to talk about Marvel's X-Men's The Gifted.
So The Gifted is about these two bratty teens who, like one of them's having trouble in school because he's complaining because he gets bullied all the time. And then the daughter who's like the pretty cheerleader type. But anyway, these bratty kids, they turn out to be Inhumans. I mean, mutants. And these mutants end up, causing havoc and blowing up their school almost. And it really sucks for the dad because the dad's like a prosecuting guy for the mutants. And then he has to deal with the fact that his damn kids are freaking mutants. It's just too bad.
Yeah, and just, guess pretty much just ruins all of their lives. And now they got to move to like Mexico or something where the mutant laws are less restrictive.
That's what the show's about. But in all honesty, it's fucking great. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, The Gifted is great. The story actually is about basically this underground railroad type thing for mutants, where you have a group of lesser known mutants transporting mutants that are like kind of like refugees or like running from the cops kind of thing, running away from them, and then they're trying to transport all of them to a safe haven like, Mexico or Canada or somewhere where they would be safe. The story takes place in Atlanta, Georgia, where you have this, family. You have these two kids who, seemingly normal kids, normal family. One of the kids is getting bullied, whatever. But, anyways, it gets to a point where one of the kids is getting bullied, and if he finds out he has psychic powers, then you find out his sister has powers as well, and now they're on the run from the government. And you have the father character who is a prosecutor, and he deals mostly in mutant type prosecutions. So he calls in, he has some information about these mutants. He tries to get a hold of them and tries to broker a deal with them to save his family, and the show goes on and it paces really well. And you move through the story, you get introduced to all the characters really well, and everything kind of goes, where they're running away from the authority figures, and, you get to see some of the mutants use their powers and everything. And generally, it's a great experience.
Yes, I definitely agree. I like the parallels. I mean, obviously, the Gifted features this whole underground railroad thing, making those kind of parallels. And it actually works really well. This definitely takes place in the Bryan Singer X-Men universe. There's characters such as Jamie Chung. She plays this mutant Blink who could teleport. And if you might remember her because she was featured in X-Men Days of Future Past as the woman who sent Wolverine back in time. The connections there are really, really good. The show was created by Matt Nix, who previously did Burn Notice and The Good Guys. He does an extremely good job of seemingly capturing the Bryan Singer universe. Granted, this episode was directed by Singer himself, and it really fits into this, even though it has the connection to Marvel, it's more of the Bryan Singer, Lauren Schuler Donner mutant universe, whereas when we previously discussed the Inhumans, there's just a night and day difference between the quality and the type and the tone of the shows that they're going for. And it's just honestly, as far as pilots go, it's fantastic. Toward the end of it, I was actually surprised. I was really into it. And so when it just ended, I was like, no. And I had that feeling of, I just want to see more. So that is definitely how I felt about the show, that it was a worthy experience, enjoyable watch.
Yeah, and I mean, to elaborate too on that, it's just like this, the visuals in this show were amazing, especially compared to the other show we watched, Inhumans. Everything, the lighting seemed right. The characters, the shots all seemed right. They used a lot of on-location sites to film, which make the quality look so much better. I mean, the characters were mostly likable. There's no character I disliked. I mean, I don't think...
Even the Sentinel, or were they the Sentinel Squad or the Sentinel Agents, played by also Burn Notice alumni Kobe Bell, they weren't necessarily even bad. They were definitely, the way that it was pictured as, you got to look at their Department of Homeland Security, basically. We live in a Patriot Act world. These people have the power to, literally like blow up an entire school. So obviously that's a huge concern for these people. So it's like, you could see like there's not necessarily like a animosity toward them. It's more of just the fear, which is the highlight of what the X-Men stories really is just the difference of people and how fear drives people and reacts to them. And I feel that this show actually captures the essence of a thing like X-Men very well, even though it doesn't have completely a lot of characters from it. There's seemingly some composite characters, and then characters who were taken from the thing to make it work within the reality of this universe, and it does it fantastically well.
Right. And the other thing is the weight of the story feels good. You actually kind of care what's going to happen next, as we kind of have said. As we're watching it, like you see there's a lot of different angles going into it, and it's done very well in a very short amount of time. They get right into the story. It starts off and they'll jump right into it. You don't there's not like this big long dialogue. You get to see basically, this group of, mutants come in and essentially try to save Blink. And, it's really cool because immediately you see their production and you see the quality of the show. But you also kind of get where these characters, you kind of start to feel like they're somebody. They have personality. They all even the acting is great.
Stephen Moyer, who plays the father, who was previously on True Blood, and he does an incredible job here. He obviously he has the burden of within his job of he prosecutes mutants, and they actually spoiler alert for the beginning because it's not really a big spoiler, but they capture Polaris from the underground mutant group, Polaris from X Factor, if you know those comics, and he has a real sort of an apologetic stance of it's like his job and he's trying to help, but what he doesn't actually seemingly realize he's doing is by helping he's actually the enemy. But then when the tide turns and he finds that his own kids are the same type of people as he immediately he's a father. He's he's conflicted, but he does what any good father would do, and that's what makes his character more compelling. Because sometimes you see that, and then the characters, they just seemingly do this odd thing where they're heartless and don't seemingly care about their family. But here it's very much a family seemingly oriented show, so it actually works extremely well with this character. So yeah.
So my favorite character of the show so far was the character played by the younger daughter, Lauren Strucker. She seemingly has the power to kind of manipulate matter. We just see her kind of make these bubble water shields in the air and be able to use kind of a little bit of telekinesis type powers.
And they actually go in a scene where the daughter and Lauren and Andy Strucker, the kids, she's explains how their powers work, and it actually is really good because one thing I feel they don't do enough in things like X-Men or the Mutant Universe is discuss how, if at all, their powers take a toll on them. And in the pilot, they actually do a really good job of showing that.
Right, and and her character. I felt like she was kind of she's just a very strong character. A lot of times you see kids and they're portrayed as children, but obviously she's been working on her powers and making them stronger in secret, and I think that's a neat thing because here you see this kind of popular chick, this cool chick, she's pretty, people seem to like her, whatever, but she's actually very strong character, and that doesn't seem to always happen in TV nowadays. And the way that she treats her brother and talks with him and is trying to help him, she mentions about teaching him to swim, and so alluding to her helping him learn how to use his powers. Andy, the younger brother, is also great. I think that he plays that kind of nerdy kid that's been picked on in school because he's a little bit weird, and he's an interesting character. You see him and he gets to the point where he snaps without saying too much, and he unleashes his powers, and he's a very powerful telekinetic mutant.
Yeah.
And so, like, those two characters, I really enjoyed seeing on screen. Their presence was great, especially seeing younger actors on screen and the way that they, you know, show what their skills are.
Yeah, definitely. I was impressed by all the actors in it, and especially the younger actors, because most of the time the younger actors aren't like Stranger Things. Most of the time, younger actors are pretty freaking terrible and stand out like a sore thumb. In the case of this, like Andy, like I was very impressed with the kid who played him, and I can't remember what the actor's name was, but I felt like that. He was my favorite character, and it's because like the relatability in that he's like this new mutant who has powers that seemingly are similar to like Professor Xavier's or Legion, you know, 'cause telekinesis, and it's just like sort of fun to like focus on, like, since he's going to be such a major character in it, to watch him and his sisters, but especially him because he's like very like just found out that he's a mutant, and it's going to be really new for him. So I'm actually excited about the journey, and I am actually very looking forward to next week's episode.
Okay, so Justin, what would you rate The Gifted?
As far as pilots go, I mean, this was an extremely good pilot. There are only a few like minor nitpicking things, which I don't even think are worth mentioning, but for the most part, I felt the whole cast was strong, the effects looked good, the production was great. Bryan Singer, you know, like X-Men Apocalypse was, you know, but this was actually really good. So I'd give it an 8.1 out of 10. Yeah.
I agree mostly with what Justin said over here. I think that I would give it 8.2 because I needed to be at least 0.1 above him.
Of course.
But I just really enjoyed it. I mean, as you can tell from our whole review, like we sat and we really were excited to watch the rest of the episode, and then it ended, and we were just like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, we wanted more. And I don't think I've watched a TV show recently where I really felt like I needed to see the next week's episode. I mean, I feel like the last show I kind of had that feeling was like kind of Game of Thrones, but even that in the recent seasons has kind of fallen off a little bit for me.
Which we'll discuss in the future. In 2019 or 2020.
Eventually.
Whenever it comes out.
You should definitely watch The Gifted, and still do not watch Inhumans.
Yes,
don't watch
do
it.
not watch Inhumans.
But definitely watch Gifted.
Yeah. If you have thoughts and comments, let us know. You know, we'd like to discuss what you thought about the show as well, because this is a show that's worth discussing. So
Yeah. Thanks for watching, guys.
Yep, peace.
Run the streets, motherfucker.
When selecting your colas, we believe that the choice is clear. Crystal Pepsi. Drink it now. It's very healthy for you. Also, fuck the camera people, you fucking pieces